Ayan, isang magandang gabi sa ating lahat. Ako si Ate Elsie.
At ako naman si Kuya Bullet.
And of course, ako si Kuya Jack. Pero wait, may kasama pa tayong pang-apat ngayong gabi. Ito.
Halaman? Halaman yan, Jack?
Oo, Ate Elsie, may kasama akong halaman dahil ngayon, isa na akong certified plantito.
Aba, nakikinig
Ayan.
talaga ngayon. Pero Jack, alam mo ba, tamang-tama, kasi ang episode natin ngayong Oh Well Wednesday ay ang environmental wellness.
Dito sa YTV
UTV,
Your TV, ang programa na para sa mga kabataan.
kasama ang kabataan at para sa kabataan.
Yan. So tama. So mga ka-YTV, last Wednesday, no, pinag-usapan natin ang iba't ibang larong pampalakasan. At sinamahan din naman tayo ng ating mga guests na nagbigay ng mga tips, hindi lang sa laro, kundi kung paano maging totoong tao sa likod ng laban sa loob ng ring, court o field man yan.
Yes, alam mo, exciting nga yung pinag-usapan natin last week. Kasi 'di ba mga favorite sports natin yan, basketball, volleyball,
Yes.
at saka yung medyo naging maingay at naging matunog na sports natin last year, no? Yung gymnastics. At syempre, huwag natin kalimutan yung tennis.
Tamang-tama, Jack. Ka dyan. At ngayon, excited ako kasi marami tayong guests na kakausapin para sa ating topic.
Ayan, dahil mga bigati nga ang guest natin ngayong gabi, ipapakilala natin ang ating unang-unang may interview at makakasalamuha. Siya ang National Coordinator ng Youth Advocate for Climate Action Philippines. Walang iba kundi si Mr. Sian Guevara. Ayan, so we have here tonight Mr. Sian Guevara. Ayan, sir, please introduce yourself to all of our viewers po ngayong gabing ito.
Ayan, so magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. I am Sian Guevara. Ako ang National Coordinator ng Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines. We are an alliance of various individuals, youth organizations, and student councils na basic lang ina-advocate namin is youth-led collective action to combat the climate crisis. So we have many points of unity. We have actually 5 revolving around climate justice, urgent climate action, youth-led collective action, the defense of our environmental defenders, and system change. So kami bilang isang alliance at isang organization, ang gusto talaga namin ay ma-empower ang more and more youth to speak up and speak out about the environmental issues that we are facing today. And syempre, aside from just speaking out, gusto natin meron talaga tayong ginagawa. So to take action para masolusyonan natin itong crisis na kinakaharap natin.
Yes, I could not agree more, no? Kasi talagang the youth would probably have a say in terms of how do we face, no, itong mga issues na kinakaharap natin sa environment. Kasi at the end of the day, tayo din yung magmamana ng may iwan sa environment natin. So I totally agree with you, sir. Having said that, no, I'd like to get your point lang, sir. Anong masasabi mo in terms of issues, like for example, those that are circulating online, saying that activism is not really the solution probably for an environmental change. No? Ano masasabi mo sa ganitong pananaw?
Okay, actually, that is a very good question. And for some reason, they might think that's a quote-unquote stupid question. But to be honest, that is a legitimate and a valid question. Is activism the solution to not just the environmental problem, pero sa kahit anong problema na kinakaharap natin? I want to answer that in 2 things. We have to look at things na meron tayo dapat activism side and volunteerism side. Okay, so what is the difference between those two? So when we talk about activism, ang point niya is advocating for social change. Okay, and siguro a slight misconception that people have when we talk about activism is when you say you're an activist, you go on the streets and you mobilize and that's it. Okay, hindi puro rally lang ang activism. Activism is a super broad thing that we do to advocate for social change. So ibig sabihin ng kasama dito yung paglalobby sa Congress, kasama dito yung pakikipag-usap, table negotiations with various government institutions. So activism is generally galit ka lang sa government, galit ka lang sa corporations or sa individuals, mas ang ano dito, ang tinitingnan natin dito is you're advocating for social change. Okay, so that's the activism side to it. Now, the volunteerism side is the immediate action dun sa mga bagay that needs attention. So kung kunyari, when we think about volunteerism, naisip natin dito ay yung mga donation drives. Naisip natin dito yung mga pagsusupport sa mga orphanages, etc. That is important. Okay? Kasi ang activism, as I said, advocating for social change, that means hindi siya mabilis. Hindi mo siya makukuha, nag-start ka ng campaign today, tomorrow may solution ka na at na-resolve na yung problem. Okay? Kaya very, very important yung volunteerism aspect to things. Okay? Kasi it has the immediate answer and immediate relief that people can get. Okay? But the problem with volunteerism alone is hindi niya nakikita yung root cause ng problem. Hindi niya nasosolve kung bakit ba maraming gutom. Bakit ba maraming naghihirap. Okay? That's why activism and volunteerism has to go hand in hand. Okay? But, okay, when we think about this in an environmental perspective, what is activism and what is volunteerism in terms of the environment? And us being climate activists, mas focus talaga kami sa climate action, di ba? So, yung climate activism, that's what we do. We inform people of what the crisis is, bakit ba siya very important, bakit ba siya very urgent, and then we go to organize them. So organization of people, meaning invite them to join orgs, invite them to join alliances, and join them basically sa campaigns na binibitbit natin. And then last is act. So dun sa act na ito, sa pagmobilize natin, hindi siya necessarily rally lang. Okay? So maraming aspects ng activism na hindi lang siya nagpo-focus sa rally, meron nga yung table battles, petitions, position papers, and table negotiations that we do. Ito yung maraming bagay na pwede natin gawin, di ba? Para masabi natin na we want to advocate for genuine social change. Now, the volunteerism aspect of environmentalism is the smallest things that we do. Okay? So ito yung mga paggamit ng reusable materials from your tumblers to metal straws or whatever. Kung ano yung mga paggamit nyo sa pag-reduce nyo, reuse, recycle, upcycle, yung mga ganitong bagay, ito ay yung quote-unquote volunteerism aspect of environmentalism. Kasi kailangan mo itong gawin, kasi kailangan mo na ng urgent changes na mangyari dito sa ating mundo. But if we remember lang na kung dito ka lang at wala ka ng activism aspect na tinitignan, ay hindi niya basically masasolve yung climate crisis. I don't want to give super hard numbers, but 10% richest of the world contribute to 50% of the carbon emissions ng mga ng individuals basically. So yung individuals, 10% ng richest, 50% yung kino-contribute nila, while the world's poorest 50 only contribute 10%. So there's a problem there na, okay, let's have everyone try to reduce their carbon footprint. Well, that's not bad, okay? Yung problem kung ganun lang yung phrasing natin is we lose accountability doon sa mas malaking, basically, mas malaking ine-emit, mas malaki yung carbon footprint nila. So what we should do is when we talk about reducing our carbon footprint, yes, everyone has to reduce theirs, pero dapat may specific highlight tayo na the richest 10% should actually do more. That's also applicable for countries, okay? Well, all the countries have to reduce their NDCs or their nationally determined contributions, okay? Hindi pwede na same level lang or same standard lang ino-hold natin sa bawat countries. Dapat dyan merong mas accountable at merong mas maluwag tayo in terms of the contributions. So, ganun lang siya basically. When we talk about climate activism, some people say nga na it's a negative thing or hindi naman talaga ito yung solution. Hindi talaga siya solution kung siya lang. Okay, so it has to be done in connection with the volunteerism aspect of environmentalism. And also, we have to understand na activism, kasi nga since meron siyang bad light, it's not just mobilizations, just rallies. Marami siyang aspects na kasama into it. Ayun.
Yes, thank you so much for that very extensive explanation. I think it's very useful, no? For all our youth na nanonood ngayon, what activism, ano na ang naging ambag ng activism in terms of creating impact talaga sa environment natin?
Okay. Thank you for that wonderful question. Yeah, actually, ang ganda nung question na yon kasi ito yung question na laging tinatanong sa amin na, okay, ano ba ang nagawa ng aktivismo to actually say na ito yung solusyon? Okay, so before I go into the environment, very, very brief background lang on activism as a social tool. Okay, if you guys are working 8-hour shifts are result of activism. The removal of slavery is a result of activism. The removal of the pagban sa mga babae sa pagboto is the result of activism. So maraming bagay. Okay? And the free tuition law that we are currently experiencing today is actually also a result of activism. So now when we go to the environmental aspect of it, okay, what have we done basically? Ano na ba yung mga victories na nakamit naming environmental advocates? Marami actually, okay? But the problem here is, I don't know if you guys are very familiar with it as well. Okay, so examples of things na binitbit talaga ng mga climate and environmental advocates are, okay, so yung isa dito ay, of course, yung mga minahan na very, I don't know, for lack of a better term, they're evil or like they don't put forward the interest of the people living in that area as their priority talaga. Okay, so yung problem kasi dito is meron tayong mga mines and the state of the mining in the Philippines isn't exactly the best. Okay, so meron tayong mga places na yung mga people na dry up yung rivers nila or napopollute yung rivers nila. Okay, so yung isa sa mga nagawa ng activism is the people held barricades, kinausap nila yung government nila, etc. So what happened there was napasara yung mine. Even if it's just for a short period of time, nagkaroon na basically ng precedence yun na, oh, this can happen and it also means na we can also do it again para mas, you know, mas mapigilan talaga natin yung mga bad things from continuing. Okay? The other things na makikita natin na naging result ng activism is what we call the opposer ruling. So dun sa opposer ruling, basically ang ano nito ay kinasuhan, okay, ang isang company kasi the future generations will inherit a bad environment. Okay, so diba, it's very questionable na parang, oh, pwede pala yun, you can sue someone for destroying the environment and that will affect the future generations. And that ruling is actually known worldwide kasi itong opposer ruling na ito, this is now precedence na whenever you try to destroy the environment, there's actually legal basis now and legal precedence na pwede kang kasuhan at pwede kaming manalo na we are in favor of the youth and the future generations that will inherit a better environment dapat. Okay, so yeah, those are some of the things na ano, kasi mas, I don't know if makikita nyo siya on a global scale, pero dun sa smaller scales, mas ganun yung mga victories natin. The climate movement is actually very young. Okay, to be honest, as opposed to various social movements there are, we are very young in terms of the global and the local reach. Okay, but that doesn't mean na we are stopping here. We do not say na dahil itong victories natin ay hindi pa natin nakikita on a super, super huge scale, ay titigil na tayo. Actually, these smaller victories are cues para ipagpatuloy pa natin to. And the way that we can get more victories is if we work together, yeah, para mas ma-achieve nga natin, mas marami pa tayong mapanalunan. So, yeah, basically we're enjoining everyone to stop, to call out the bad companies kung meron man silang ginagawa. And even the government, okay? Let's not be scared to criticize the government kasi, yeah, the government as an institution, dapat, di ba, ano siya, like, go hand in hand yung projects niya para sa people and para sa environment. So if we call them out, yes, some people may say na, oh, we're just so negative. No, we also applaud the government kung meron silang ginagawang matino. So kung kunyari, meron tayo ngayong Manila Bay white sand dumping, meron tayo ngayong Manila Bay reclamation in another part of Manila Bay naman, these are the things that we are calling out, okay? And hopefully, as time goes by, sa pagpapatuloy natin sa ating aktivismo, ay, ayun nga, makamit natin ang genuine social change in terms of environment. And syempre, tayo, nakita pa natin isang victories ngayon is, at least, okay, Duterte is willing daw to look into declaring a climate emergency. us being climate activists, ang tagal na namin pinapanawagan yan. So hopefully, yung pagsabi niya na willing siya or he will look into declaring a climate emergency, sana gawin niya yon. But also, vigilant kami na pag dineclare niyang climate emergency, yung declaration niya ay dapat, the things that we want a climate emergency to be. Baka mamaya kasi maging abuse of power. But of course, that's us being vigilant. That's not us being negative agad, okay? So vigilance and being pessimist are two different things. Activists are vigilant. So tayo, let's continue to work together to achieve more and more victories for the nation and for the environment.
Yes. Ayan. Sobrang appreciate ko yung very short interview natin, no, Sir Sian. Actually, there's still a lot of, good notable discussions na pwede sana natin pag-usapan. But very, very pressed lang tayo for time. For the last part lang, no, if there is anything that you would want to say to all our viewers right here, no, para lang mabuhay yung ganitong sense of activism. Kasi nga, sobrang kulong tayo ngayon sa iba't ibang pananaw, what is activism. And as what you have said, no, a lot of positive impacts already or positive effects already was brought about by activism. The fact that we're actually conversing right now over social media is a result of activism. And yun nga, if there is something that you would want to say to the youth na nanonood sa atin ngayon, to know, yung parang buhayin lang yung ganitong type of feeling towards them. That activism is not really just going out in the streets, and it's not just really being pessimist as what you say, no. It's really being vigilant. So is there any message that you can say to all our youth viewers this evening?
All right. So, yeah, let me end this interview by saying thank you, of course, to the organizing team. Pero for the youth who are watching this, and I don't know, maybe some parents are also watching this, we have to understand that activism isn't bad. Okay? Activism isn't just looking at the negative things, calling them out, and then we're happy about that. No. Activism, the point niya is you're advocating for genuine social change. So when you say that you want genuine social change, you have to first identify the problem and second come up with solutions. Okay. So activism is not just being mad. Activism isn't just about being negative. Activism is putting forward solutions that actually help solve the crisis of the climate and all the other crises that we are facing. Okay. So yes, I hope that this short interview removed some of the misconceptions that you guys have had before when it comes to activism. And of course, people will say that it's just me. That's just my opinion on being an activist. But I've been a full time activist for 3 years now. I've worked with various activists from different sectors. But yeah, basically, that's all it is. Okay, hindi siya ako lang. It's not my personal take lang. That is what activism really is. And if we like try to believe or like try to look at it in a perspective of an activist na ito talaga yung ginagawa namin, okay, bakit, why won't you believe us and why would you believe someone who's not an activist criticizing an activist, okay? So yeah, I want you guys to remember that activism isn't just being mad and like going to the streets and rallying. It's pushing forward genuine social change. So in whatever way you can, okay? So kung meron tayo mga mas strict yung parents natin, like hindi nila feel talaga yung activism, baka may certain type of activism lang sila na hindi gusto. Okay, so we can still put forward our concerns, we can still put forward genuine social change kahit hindi doon sa prescribed activism, yung sa not prescribed activism ng parents natin or kung sino man, okay? There are small things we can do. First, educate people on social media. Okay, just talking about issues with your family, with your parents. Okay, that's something that we can do. Okay, tapos aside from that, signing petitions. Okay, and actually supporting people that are talking to the government. Okay, kasi kapag kami nakikipag-usap sa government, guys, it's not real na lagi kaming magkaaway. Okay, nag-uusap kami and we talk about things on how we can solve problems better and more efficiently. So yes, hopefully you guys can look into what kind of activism you can take as young as you are or as old as you are. Okay, and yeah, let's all work together to achieve the changes that we actually want to see sa ating society. Ayun lang.
All right, so we would like to thank once again Mr. Cian Guevara, our National Director for Youth Advocates for Climate Action. Maraming salamat. It's actually just giving your statement that would really help us ang mga youth to also make their stand. Ano ba yung pananaw nila at ano yung stand nila towards nangyayari sa environment natin? Because again, as mentioned, tayo din, tayong mga youth ang magmamana ng kakaharapin kung ano mangyayari sa environment natin. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Ayan, napakinggan nyo ba, Ate Elsie, tsaka Kuya Bullet, yung mga pinag-usapan namin ni Sian kanina?
Oo, grabe nga eh. Ganun pala talaga kapag isa kang advocate and activist, kumbaga. Maganda at nalinaw din natin yung mga definitions na yon.
Yes, Ate Elsie. Alam mo, isa talaga sa pinaka-paborito ko na pinag-usapan namin kanina, yung the fact na sinabi ni Sian kanina na ang activism is not just yung paglabas sa kalsada at pagsigaw at paggawa ng picket, pagsama sa mga rally. Isang magandang perspektibo na tingnan natin na sinabi niya doon, ang activism ay mas may malalim pang pinag-uugatan. I guess, Ate Elsie, meron tayong pangalawang guest, tama ba?
Yes, actually, excited akong ipakilala sa inyo ang ating next guest. Isa siyang environmental entrepreneur. Tawagin natin Mr. Raf Dionisio. Okay. So, kanina nakausap ni Kuya Jack ang isa sa mga representatives or the national coordinator of YAKAP or the Youth Advocates on Climate Action Philippines. And this time around, we have another guest. So, let us move on to our new guest. Let us all welcome an environmental entrepreneur. Ayan. Let's all welcome Mr. Raf Dionisio. Hi, Mr. Raf. Can you please open your mic? Sorry. Ayan,
Sorry
naka-mute po
about
si...
that. I didn't know.
There you go.
Yeah. No need to call me Mister. Just first name basis. I mean, we're all friends here.
Okay, sige. Sige, Raf. Ayan, nakakatuwa. And thank you very much for being here with us tonight. So, can you tell us more about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I really like doing business, and I also really love the environment. So, most of my time has been spent in four major industries. So I'm most known for tourism, for the Circle Hostel and Make a Difference Travel. But I've also spent some time in the construction industry till today with soundproof acoustics and global building materials. And then now we're venturing into education and to agriculture. But I think today what we're supposed to really talk about is that, is how it all began, like the tourism.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yes, ayan. Actually, yun nga yun yung first question. Kasi ang ating mga viewers, ang ating mga ka-Y TV ngayon ay mga kabataan. So we want to know, Raf, how you started. Paano ka nagsimula maging isang environmental advocate and eventually moving on or focusing more into eco-sustainability?
All right. I'll be very honest with you guys. Like when I started my journey in business, it was really about money for me. I wanted the same dream that everybody wanted, which is I want to be rich, right? It's what your parents tell you. It's what your teachers in school tell you. Oh, you should go be successful, make a lot of money. It's what your friends tell you. It's what the media tells you. And I had very cheap dreams, even if I wanted to be rich, right? But somewhere along the way, I got the opportunity to put up a business in the countryside, and that was Circle Hostel in San Felipe, Zambales. And I remember it was very beautiful, and that kind of led me to really falling in love with the country from a very visual perspective. That this was prior to It's More Fun in the Philippines, going out. And when I was doing Circle, I was very proud about the business. I was like, okay, it's cool. It's about surfing, art. It's about the simple life. but I was challenged by um, by a award-winning social entrepreneur. He actually won the Entrepreneur of the World award in the World Economic Forum, Tony Meloto, and he was saying that um, your business is good, but your impact is small, even if you have the highest level of education. And so, it's not impressive because it's just for you. It doesn't really add value to society. And that was one of the first times where I got very challenged. No? And it reminded me that my dad's a doctor for the public. He works in PGH. My grandfather had done public service at some point, and it really made me think: is this what I want? Right? And I started to see a lot of other people who had just graduated back then, committing their lives to a place called GK Enchanted Farm, where the concept of social entrepreneurship was being brought to life, I think, no? Made very visible. And people were trying to work with communities. Food security was an issue people were trying to address. And inclusive and sustainable growth. No? Big words, but in reality, it just means putting food on the table and giving everybody a decent job. So I volunteered in GK for about a year and a half. Met a lot of people. It changed my perspective on what business should be, and how we as citizens should be living our lives, right? Growing up, we're always taught the American dream, which is all about me. But working with these social entrepreneurs, meeting people in the community, I started to think of something else. I started to think about about us as a people, as a country, and I think it's a great mindset to have, because we do have to create impact on the ground, no. So that said, I started with my friend Thomas Graham, Make a Difference Travel in Enchanted Farm, and we were trying to promote community-based tourism. Started in Bulacan, went to Bohol, and then later on ended back in Zambales, and with the Circle team set up one of the most popular programs we've created called Tribes and Treks, where we work with the Aitas of San Felipe to reforest 3,000 hectares of ancestral domain to build a 100-hectare food forest, right? And we want them to get back on track, no? And the backstory there is that the country used to be 70% primary rainforest, so greater than Bhutan, which is the most forested country to date, but it went down to less than 3% by 2016. We basically sold most of our lumber, and we're now paying the price because we have floods. It's hotter, it's harder to irrigate for farms, etc. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much the journey that's gone on, no. I wanted to build on what the interviewee earlier was saying, Sian, no, because they were talking about activism and the environmental issues, and what are our responsibilities. I used to think that the environmental issue of our time was biodiversity loss or climate change, cutting trees, plastic, right? And that's why we had these tree planting programs, or this anti-plastic campaign called the Plastic Solution, right? But the more I went around talking about it, because it became quite popular, the more I realized the problem wasn't in the environment per se. No sort of science could heal it. The problem was with us as people and how we treated the environment. And so it kind of boiled down to two things for me. It was either people didn't know, in which case that's an educational challenge, and the other one is people knew but didn't care, in which case it might be greed or it might be apathy, right? In that sense, no. So I guess that's just wanted to share my 2 cents on the environmental issue at play, no? Which brings us back to like where we are today with COVID and all these things that are coming our way.
Thank you very much, Raf. There you go. You touched a lot of things, and I'm actually excited to discuss further since you touched on, well, you touched a lot because I am also familiar with GK Enchanted Farm. Nagpunta din ako dyan, and
Ganda dun.
oo, sobra. And it's very nice and inspiring na nakikita mo how people work together as a community para to put food nga to the table, and how we maximize yung ating environment, di ba? Kasi mayaman naman din talaga ang ating bansa when it comes to the environment. So, can you also tell us more? You also touched about 2 points. Exactly yun ang problem natin with us people on education. And also, ayan, ang problem natin with education. So how do you think, Raf, can we actually help our youth right now? Kung paano natin sila ma-encourage na kumilos din at mag-contribute sa pagbibuild ng ating communities para mapatupad din ang ating pag-aalaga sa ating environment.
You know, I like the question. I've always taken the role of we are stewards of the environment because we're not here forever, right? And we do have to find a way to leave this place better than when we found it. Unfortunately, I guess the generations before us have made it a little challenging, but I think that this generation can really change things, no? So if you're asking for concrete suggestions on what people should do, let me ask you, did you learn about environmental science in school and what the environmental issues are?
Nung college na, actually.
College na.
Pero yung mga diba, from grade school to high school, these are not really discussed.
Correct.
Detail.
Yeah. So what I would advise is if you're a student, maybe you can research a bit. And if you don't like research because it sounds boring, well, there's a show called BBC that talks a lot about environmental issues. Follow David Attenborough. There's so much content on Netflix, iFlix, on YouTube. So it's free, right? There's no reason for you not to know about the environment and learn about it in an entertaining way. One of the latest ones, it's Kiss the Earth or something that promoted by Jason Mraz about the soil being one of the solutions to fight the carbon crisis. Definitely research is one. Expose yourself. No, I didn't learn about all this environmental science until after graduation, and it was me, really trying to learn on my own, talking to experts, reading, and collecting a lot of content. And the other thing that you could do, really, apart from equipping yourself with knowledge, is the simplest way to help your environment is one is save energy, save water. Maybe I don't need to go into detail kasi matalino naman tayong lahat. We know how to save water and save energy. You can reduce your plastic waste. And my personal favorite, I would suggest planting a tree anywhere, a fruit tree, a small shrub. No? Don't let any idle land go to waste. No? I had the privilege of being sent to Israel a couple of years ago to study agri-tech. And one of the things that really struck me in Israel is that it's a desert, but 7% of their land is forest. Whereas in the Philippines, where it's 3%, but we're supposedly the most biodiverse in the world. No? So it's not a function of your environment. It's a function of what's inside your mind, because our environment is just a reflection of what's inside, right? And clearly, if you're an educator, a parent, anyone with some sort of influence, I would actually suggest that maybe there's a way we can create opportunities for kids to learn more or for teachers to learn more. I'm a big fan of really empowering teachers so that they can, equip the next generation, the current generation, with the information they need to make the right decisions. No? Because many times the environmental issues, at least when I see it now, people don't understand the science so much, and so they tend to, miss out on key points in the, in the fight against the environment. No? A lot of the solutions are just really right in front of us, things you can do at home.
Ayan, I like what you actually said a while ago that knowledge is actually power. You can't actually address something if you're not even aware if there is an issue, and address yung issue na yon if you don't know how to. Ayan. So maganda yung sinabi mo doon, Raf, and your tips as well on or your advocacy on getting teachers to learn more so that they can also influence our youth, and sila kasi yung naghuhulma ng mga mind nila. Ayan. So, yes, we can actually share links para mas mabigyan natin information ang ating mga Kawai TV, ang ating mga kabataan, kung paano pa mas makakatulong sa pag-aalaga ng ating environment. Ayan. So, ayan, we will show your links dito sa ating sa baba ng ating, ayan, ika-caption natin sa ating post later.
Nice. I'm just curious, like, is it possible also to like share like pictures or something? Because I do have some. I realize I have some stuff here that maybe some of the viewers could see.
Yes.
It just because yun, parang we actually split Mad Travel into two when the pandemic started. The first part, so it attacks food security and education. And water security at the core.
Ayan.
So where
yes, Raf. Actually, yun nga yung gusto ko rin itanong. How kasi syempre, 'di ba, ang focus mo before is ecotourism. How is it now that you are in quarantine? How can we paano nag-evolve din yung advocacy to that during the quarantine?
Well, the long-term pivot is called Make a Difference courses. So it's led by my business partner, Tom. And it comes from our study, like prior to COVID, a lot of our tours would basically be a very effective way to show and tell what sustainability meant, what having the right values and sharing it with the community meant, or what inclusive growth really looked like, right? One of the values of the company is we create value by sharing values, no? And that basically means building relationships with people, and because of that relationship, we have a lot of trust, and that trust allows us to, do interesting things. So we had an award-winning program. It won a Good Design Award in Japan for services, and what was interesting is that all the students and teachers that came, the feedback was it was so overwhelming that maybe they were looking for a way to learn more about it prior to visiting. And so the idea now, what we're doing now is we have online courses so that you learn about the entire experience, and it's shot very well. In fact, I have a video now if you want to take a look at the teaser. It's just a minute long. No? Kaya ba? Ano? Or should I share screen or something?
Yeah, I think, sige, maybe we can share this later on with our viewers. Ayan,
Alright.
so, and then, I'm sure that you have a lot of experiences already, Raf, bilang, and you started young, I believe, and you're still young, syempre. How can you inspire our even younger viewers right now kung paano sila magiging katulad mo na nag-thrive din dito sa advocacy na ito?
Wow, that's very flattering. Thank you very much for the compliment. No? I don't fancy myself as someone who's special. It's just that what I learn, I try to put into action. And I saw this funny image of a group of penguins. So there were 6 penguins. There were 5 na magkadikit, tapos may isa na medyo nasa harap. Now, the penguin in front kept going places, and the five kept following. And the quote below that image was, if you're a leader, people will follow you whether you like it or not. No? And the reality is that we do lack a lot of public leaders with values. So it's a little difficult to come up with like a list of 10 people. Just my perspective, no, not to bash any of the leaders out there, but I wish it was easier to find great examples out there, no? Especially in the billionaires and politicians list. No? So it goes to show what we have to do, as a generation. And I honestly don't think that the solution to our challenges will come from the politicians or will come from the richest. It's going to come from, everyone. It's going to come from you, from me. All it takes is that, we learn and then we start acting according to what is right. No? So if what is right is we plant a tree, then let's plant a tree. If what is right is let's bike rather than take a car kasi sayang yung gasolina, no? Let's do that. No? If buying local, which is one of the things I'm really advocating for today, is the solution, then please just buy local chips instead of foreign chips, buy local ice cream instead of foreign ice cream. There's a trade imbalance happening right now, meaning there's more money going out of the country than coming in because we don't have tourists and we don't have our overseas Filipino workers sending as much money as they used to. So ball is in our court in that sense, no. And because we're such a connected generation with amazing programs like this that allow the sharing of ideas, I hope that more people can make that commitment. It's a personal commitment, and it's just small actions, no. We can't wait any longer, no, because I remember one of my friends was saying, we have to get people to vote, and maybe that's and then we have to change the leadership. And in my head, it's like we vote every day when we buy something. We vote the business we support. We vote their value system. We vote for the country who supplies us. So a peso is a vote, and you do that every day. So please, I hope you take this time, tonight to kind of like reflect. Who are you voting for with your money? What do you consume, and who's making it? Those are key questions that will lead you on the journey down to sustainability. And siguro just to kind of like close the sharing, no. I just wanted to say that sustainability isn't it's not supposed to be a complicated issue. We want to make it as simple and as fun as possible, which is what we did on our tours. Right. So I hope that I can connect with all you guys. We'll show a link later so that if you want to stay connected, we can kind of shoot you emails and send you updates of what we're doing, whether we're working with rice farmers or indigenous tribes planting trees or a beach cleanup or whatnot. No? Please, let's connect because we all need to help each other move the world into a better space. Yeah. So thanks for having me here, guys.
Thank you, Raf. Ayan, thank you very much for all your tips and your call to action, actually. Actually, we can take our own little actions, but together we can achieve more, diba? So, thank you very much for gracing us here in our show.
Thank you.
Ayan, so yun nga, no, magpapasalamat tayo sa ating mga guest speakers for this evening. We'd like to thank Sir Sian Guevara and Mr. Raf. While you're about to end our interview for this evening, we'd like to hear a few words ulit from Sir Sian and Sir Raf. Probably you would have something to promote also to all our Kawaii TVs out there. Baka naman meron pa kayong gustong i-promote sa kanila, a website or your social media page where they can actually visit and get to see the works that you have been doing for our environment. Sige, let's start off with Sir Sian.
All right, sige. So, thank you once again for everyone for inviting me. And maraming salamat sa mga nanonood sa atin ngayon na, ayun, basically, gusto nyong matutunan kung ano ba ang ginagawa namin bilang environmental advocates. And yeah, basically, if you guys want to learn more, if you guys want to help out, especially kung youth kayo, actually, you can join us. You can go to yakap.org, that's our website, and you can also check out our social media pages from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We also have TikTok at Yakap Philippines. That's YACAP HILIPPINES. Okay, so yeah. Also, what we're going to do, our next big project is going to be on November 7th. It's going to be the Asia Climate Rally. So hopefully you guys can join us too. We'll be posting more details about it on social media. And for more of the older generations that's out there, if you guys can actually donate to us, because what we'll be doing this year, okay, I'll be talking about this now. This is the first time I'll be publicly saying kung ano yung gagawin namin this November 7th. We'll be launching a book, and actually series of books siya that will talk about various environmental concerns and the science behind climate activism. But this is going to be children's books. So hopefully we can communicate this to the children at a very young age para hindi sila magulat pagdating nila ng college or when they're working na the environment is dying na pala. Okay, so yes, we want to introduce climate education as early as possible. We'll be talking to DepEd, the local governments with this about this as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys can help us out in making the books reach more and more communities, especially the ones that are far-flung and yung mas nahihirapan silang umaccess sa internet and sa book that we have. Yes, thank you guys so much for having me.
And of course, no, we'd like to hear words naman from Sir Raf. Tama po na yan. Sige, sir, your invitation naman.
All right, cool. I would actually like to invite people to check out our website for the online marketplace that is. We used to work within tourism. Now, different items like forest honey, like I have right here. No, it's called Make a Difference Market. So madmarket.co. That's our website, right? And then if you're interested in terms of online learning about social entrepreneurship or social innovation, you please feel free to email me at raf@madtravel.org so we can get in touch. We would love to talk to more schools and corporations who are interested in, teaching the principles of social entrepreneurship or even intrapreneurship inside your company, so that you can create value while creating impact for people and planet.
Thank you very much to our guests. And guys, if you want to get to know more, tulad nga ng mga sinabi nila, puntahan po natin yung mga websites that we will also show in our captions. And the links will also be shared with you all. Ayan. So if you have any questions to them, you can also get in touch with them. Let us connect and help each other. Ayan.
And with that, we'd like to thank once again all our guests for this evening. Mr. Sian and Sir Raf, maraming salamat po for taking part in our episode dito sa Wednesday here in YTV.
Youth TV, your TV.
Your TV.
YTV, Youth TV, your TV.